Okay, you can hear my voice now. You guys are so happy. You guys are gonna laugh when you watch this video later because you're gonna know the backstory, and I'm not even gonna go there. All right, so what I have here is an HTML doc that has a link out to the Bootstrap style sheet. Go to getbootstrap.com and go to Get Started. Copy the link for the CSS. This links out to a hosting provider that holds on to the latest Bootstrap. So that is your beginning style sheet. That's called your library, right? What I also have here is a style tag, and it's pretty minimal. And actually, I don't even need the container tag. But what I've done here is I've written a wildcard, and I'm saying here basically any div with a class that contains call, do this. And all it does is gives me a border so I can see it. So I'm going to save this. Hop over here to my page, and there it is. It gives me my green border because by default what we're doing here is we're working on the Bootstrap grid, and the Bootstrap grid is invisible. It does layout, it's a layout element, and so if I come here and shrink this, it does its thing. You know, these are, you know, evenly spaced and filling the page as they're supposed to, but you would normally not see the borders, so I put the border in there. So that's what this does. Later on I'll delete this because I don't need it, but I just, for safety's sake, it does it. I do it there. Okay, so what's the trick? The grid system uses 12 cells that go all the way across the page. You can use any percentage of those. If you want them all to be equal spaced, they can be just the same. I'm saying class call -sm, and by default they're all equal spaced. There's also call medium and call large. That just depends on the device that you're displaying it on, for like a cell phone or a tablet or something. But if I give these a size, if I say give this one a 2 or give this one a 5, give this one a 3, and I give this one a 4, these have to add up to 12. So I've got 7 and 5 is 12. So save this and I refresh, and so now I'm able to set the space here of how wide each of these cells are. So you can have, and again, this is all, you have to have a row. First of all, you have to wrap it in a container or a container fluid. This is a container fluid, that's a container, and so you see you get a little bit of kind of centering, and the size kind of locks past a certain point, and then you get these breakpoints. The beauty of Bootstrap is you can shrink this, and at some point, when it gets down to the certain breakpoint, it'll look good on a phone, and it stacks the columns, it stacks all the cells. Okay, so you can see how it's behaving here. If I come back and say container fluid, it's fluid, right? It actually shrinks. It doesn't have these breakpoints as much. It'll still break down for a phone past a certain point, but the size is a little more dynamic. Again, this is a personal choice for you. You don't have to do, you can do one or the other, but you got to do some sort of container that shows how this stuff works. Okay, the next step is really a row. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a comment in here. And I'm just going to copy this. And I've ended my grid and I'm beginning my grid. So this is one complete row. And a row is, of course, just like Excel spreadsheets, a row goes across. And I can have as many of these as I want. I can say, give me another row. So I can just copy this whole row and paste it here. Oof, that was bad idea. Actually, I'm going to keep the... So this is kind of, maybe I should say row, right? And so this is row 2, and so on. And then again, I mean, you know, because I have this and because I laid this code out pretty cleanly, I can say, all right, you know what, this one is just going to have 2 cells that are 6 each, so they'll be evenly spaced. Right now, and by the way, forget about this code right here. You don't need these extra divs. I'll talk about these extra divs in just a minute. But I can say boom, boom, X, and so I've got 2 6-cell wide. So there they are. Something is wrong. That's what's wrong right there. So let me back up here. This, let's see here, undo, let's keep undoing. This actually belongs down here. There we go, because this is the end of this row. Okay, so then I can do a second row, and I can, again, I can change some of these divs and say 6 and 6, paste it, and now it's split equally between the two, and I can change this however I want. I can say 1 and 11, so on. Okay, so let's talk about filling these images inside the middle here. And what I'm going to do is I've got this other document that's very similar, and we're going to hop over to that, and it's just called temp. And what I've done here is I've got these images dropped in here. You notice that I've got this grid system. The one thing I didn't talk about, was nesting this time. So the last part of this is I can say, okay, well, I've taken this row. I can actually take this row and paste it inside one of these columns. And so I'm actually nesting a row within a row, or a row within a column. And if I come back, there we have it. So this row, this 11 and 1, is now crammed inside this 5 column wide cell. Okay, so let's go back to here. So what I've done up here at the top is I have added this extra div. And this is my div. This isn't a Bootstrap design thing. This is Jeff's image holder and image. I use image holder to have all of the common elements, all of the things that are common between these 3 images. They are the border, the drop shadow, you know, all of this stuff. Really the only thing that's going to be different between each of these cells is the background image. And so you can see up here, and I went through this in the last video silently. I guess I should go through it aloud. You know, I've put a border on it, I've put a drop shadow on it, I've put a corner round on it, I've given some padding inside. I set a height, that's important. I've said background size cover, I'll explain that in a second. Make the text white, give the text a drop shadow of black, make it 1.5 EMs tall, center it vertically. So I'm using this code to center the text vertically. So I come back here to temp 0. That's a good job. I've centered the text vertically, I've rounded the corners. The images are different, right? So the images I have different images in here, and the way I do that is just use those image classes to put a different background URL in. So different background URLs each time. So it's having a little issue with line feeds here because I'm returning it. So that's all of this. And if I wanted to nest something, I would delete this. But this is how you get that extra images. Instead of using an image tag, I'm actually using a background tag. And that background cover is what gives me this fill, take the single image and fill it. One trick here, you'll be so glad I put this on this video. If your image is too small, is smaller than this div, it won't cover, I think, is the problem. I've seen this a couple times where it's like they used a real small thumbnail image and it only fills like a third of the background. So to make this work, your background image has to be bigger than your div. But again, you'll see here as I size this, you notice that it crops, right? But it always fills. It'll always fill. And as I shrink it, it'll break. And it's doing it fluidly. All right. I hope that helps. I hope I wasn't completely confused. You guys have all seen this twice. You should be experts.